You're listening to the Divorce and Your Money Show, the #1 show on iTunes that discusses the complex business of divorce. I'm your host, Sean Lehman, MBA and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. You can visit us at divorceandyourmoney.com. Now I'm fired up to get into this episode because we're going to discuss a very important and very close topic to me, which is ways your divorce attorney can screw up your settlement financially. And don't get me wrong, divorce attorneys are essential to getting divorced, but despite what they might claim, they're not financial experts, and relying upon your attorney to handle financial issues can be a mistake. A really big mistake. I'm actually going to read you a quote, which I don't often do, but from Joe Cordell. He is a partner at the law firm called Cordell & Cordell. And what's interesting about Joseph Cordell is his firm is the largest family law firm in the United States. They have something like 22 offices. And this super successful attorney said the following: attorneys often tend to feel they have the knowledge and experience to take care of many complex financial matters on their own, even though most do not hold any sort of business degree. This can create costly mistakes for their clients if they do not fully understand the complicated financial concerns at hand. That's straight from one of the best family law attorneys in the United States. Now, look, you're going to have to work with an attorney. An attorney is important. There's many great attorneys out there, but you need to understand the scope of their services and what they do. Attorneys are there to advise you and to help craft a legal agreement within the laws of your city or state or jurisdiction. And they're there to help you get to your settlement, or if they have to represent you in court, then represent you in court. But your attorney went to law school, and they're an expert at law. They are not financial experts. And so what I want to get into in this episode is 5 of the biggest mistakes that I see attorneys making all over the country when it comes to crafting a settlement. And these are financial mistakes I see attorneys make. Here are the 5 big things. We're going to jump into each one of them in greater depth. So the first one is failing to navigate steep tax consequences. Second is mishandling investment accounts. Third is forgetting to look for hidden assets. Fourth is neglecting to secure support payments with insurance. And fifth is overlooking a post-divorce financial plan. So let's go through each one quickly. And also, there is a long blog post that I wrote about this. And if you haven't checked out the blog and all you do is listen, it's great that you're listening to these episodes, but also sometimes I have these really long, really in-depth articles on my website that you should check out at divorceandyourmoney.com. And this one has an accompanying blog post that really will help you and gets into even more that I'm going to share on this episode. But let's jump into the key mistakes. The first one, as I said, failing to navigate steep tax consequences. Now, when you think about splitting your money, it's not what you get, but it's what you get to keep. And taxes, if you're not careful, can take a big chunk out of your anticipated assets. If you get paid spousal support, which is also called alimony, that money is taxable to you. So if you're getting, let's just say for an easy example, let's say you're getting $1,000 a month. Well, after you pay your taxes, that might only be $700 a month or $600 a month, depending on how much you pay in taxes. Or if you're getting a retirement account as one of the assets you get as part of your divorce, and let's say you need to withdraw that money before retirement age, which could very well be the case. Well, there are often income tax penalties, or there's income taxes and also additional penalties that you might have to pay when you withdraw that money. So at a $100 investment account, you might only end up with $60 or $50 after you have to pay the taxes and penalties. So you really need to understand what you're negotiating for, and most attorneys don't educate their clients as to what the tax impact of what they're going to do is, and actually just sit and illustrate the exact math that's going to apply to you. Or let's even think of a different example. Let's say that you are going to sell your home after divorce. Well, just by selling your home while you're still married, still legally married, you could save $250,000 in potential capital gains tax. Now, if you listen to all of my episodes on your marital home, I get into that in a lot more depth, but that's something that you should think about. And most attorneys, almost never do I see attorneys doing the calculations for you so they know exactly, so that you're in a position to know exactly what you're getting. But let's move on to number 2. Is mishandling of investment accounts. Well, one of the things that most people don't realize is that if you have any kind of investment account, it can't just be split 50-50 or whatever the percentage is without giving much thought to it. Investments are one of, if not the most complex financial asset that exists in general. And the complications are even more difficult in the event of a divorce. You're dealing with things like stocks and bonds and mutual funds and other types of accounts. There are literally tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands or millions of different investment options. And if you're not careful, you're going to end up making a big mistake. There's things like cost basis to consider. There's things like the liquidity of assets to consider. If you have something like a hedge fund or a private equity fund, sometimes you can't sell those for 10 years. So if you end up getting them in the divorce, you might have 8 or 9 years before you're even allowed to cash it in. So if you're not careful with any kind of investment account, and when I say investment account, I mean we're talking about like a Schwab account, and a Ameritrade account, an E-Trade account, a JP Morgan account, any one of those types of brokerage firms or any type of investment that you're dealing with, they are very complicated. And even after myself of working over a decade in finance, is some of these things are even complicated for me. Now, fortunately, I get to study them day in and day out, but I couldn't imagine having an attorney or someone else who does not do this as their primary job, looking at investment accounts for clients all day, every day, for years, even having the slightest clue of how to divide these assets properly. Now, number 3 is failing to look for hidden assets. I know from a lot of you that you suspect that your spouse is hiding money from you, and that could very well be the case. But many attorneys don't have the expertise or capability or just fail to even ask the question or even consider looking for money that might be hidden. I got a ton of episodes on hidden assets that I will point you to if you look in the different shows that I've already published, or you can email me directly and I will get you some more information. But you need to bring these things up with your attorney. If they don't have a specialized team in place, you need to figure out how to build one. The 4th mistake is neglecting to secure support payments with insurance. Now, this is a subject that gets overlooked. It's something that not a lot of people talk about, but it's a very handy way that can solve you, or that can save you a lot of hassle and issues down the line in a cost-effective manner. And what do I mean by securing support payments with insurance? Well, let's say your spouse owes you support. I mean, spousal support or child support. And they stop paying for some reason. Maybe they become disabled and can't work, or maybe something really unforeseen happens and they pass away early. And you're still owed support payments. Well, how do you get money? Well, you can actually get disability insurance or life insurance. And when you own those policies, if something happens to your ex-spouse and they still owe you support, well, you have a method to keep collecting upon those payments. Because otherwise, if you're owed a bunch of support payments and you might live off of that money, that might be essential money for you or for you to raise your children, and all of a sudden it disappears, well, if that were to happen to you, that could put you in a devastating financial position. So one way to avoid having that happen is getting insurance. And yet, at the same time, a lot of people don't even consider it. Now, the last thing, mistake number 5 is overlooking a post-divorce financial plan. It's really simple. Look, I get to work with a lot of you all over the country. I've had clients with a few $100,000 And I've had clients with a few $100 million, names that you would know, household names that I've gotten to work with over the years. And, it's interesting is regardless of the attorney, I've almost never seen a divorce attorney create any sort of basic financial plan for their clients after the divorce is over. And what I mean is just taking a look at the settlement that they're about to sign and say, hey, does this settlement agreement make sense for you not only next year, but 3 years down the line, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, 20 years down the line? Are you going to be financially secure for your life after this divorce? And do you understand what you're signing and how your financial picture will look when this process is over? And maybe sometimes you agree to something that might make sense for a year, but next year you realize that, oh, I should have taken this asset, or, oh, I should have asked for more support of this kind or less support of the other kind, or, oh, I should have taken the cash instead of the retirement account because I need to withdraw for some money. Or, oh, maybe I shouldn't have taken the house because I actually can't afford it beyond 2 years. And people end up in a position where they have the oh shoot moment, as we'll call it, and they realize that they didn't agree to something that's actually feasible for them for the long term. And, the thing is, it can be easily fixed. That's one of the biggest things that we talk about in our coaching sessions is we look at your income, your expenses, your assets, and we figure out how is your life going to look when this process is over? And if it's going to look okay, if it's going to look poorly and you're going to need to make some changes, or if you're somewhere in between. And attorneys should be doing this for everyone, but they don't. And it leads to you making really bad financial decisions or negotiating for the wrong assets as part of your divorce. So look, what do? I don't want you to end up making any of these 5 mistakes. The 5 mistakes being failing to navigate the tax consequences, mishandling investment accounts, forgetting to look for hidden assets, neglecting to secure support payments with insurance, and overlooking a post-divorce financial plan. Well, I want to make sure you don't make those mistakes. But look, there's great ways to prevent that from happening. The first, of course, is you should check out my website. I give away a lot of free information to you. And you go to divorceandyourmoney.com. And you can also email me directly at Shawn, SHAWN, at divorceandyourmoney.com. And, there's a coaching tab there. And I get to work with you, people who listen to the show, all over the United States. I'm easy. You hear me. You know how I think. You know what I talk about. I'm friendly. And all it takes is you to fill out a simple form, and we'll set up a call and see if coaching works for you. We'll get deep into the details, and ultimately, there's 2 big things that we focus on in the coaching session. The first is we figure out what your financial picture looks like, how you've lived, where you are, and creating a snapshot. And the second is helping you get to a settlement that makes financial sense for you, as I said in my last point, not only for the day after you sign it, but for 10 years down the line and 20 years down the line. I work with you directly. Sometimes I work with attorneys, depends on the situation, but attorneys are great at the law, but they don't do the math for you. So regardless of where you are in the divorce process, we can start getting things together. And for some of you, if you haven't started at all and you're just doing your homework, I'll help you create your financial affidavit or statement of net worth and just get you up to speed. And just because you've signed a settlement doesn't mean that the process is over. Even with the coaching sessions, is that, I get to work with some of you for years at a time, and I get to hang out with some of my clients. I know their kids, I know their birthdays, their kids know me, and we even go on vacation together, though I'm not committing you to that. But I do get to travel to a lot of fun places. So if you want to go through a coaching session, just click on the coaching tab and we can help you not make those mistakes that your attorney will make or could make, and also that you could end up making if you just don't ask for help. Now, also on the website, I have some great courses. And if you like listening to the podcast, you will really like the courses. They're longer and more in depth than even the podcast episode. There's lots of visuals, handouts. One of the courses even includes my book, Divorcing Your Money, the no-nonsense guide. And they are comprehensive overviews of subjects when it comes to divorce. And they're less expensive than the coaching, but they come with a lot of great information. So if you can't necessarily afford the coaching session, it's a good way to get yourself up to speed and to learn what you need to know as you go through the divorce process. I have one course called Steps to Take Before Divorce, everything you need to know before hiring an attorney. I also have a course called How to Get a Divorce Without Losing Everything, 12 Ways to Avoid Common Divorce Mistakes, and new courses coming every month. So check out the courses page if you might be interested in a course. And here's the added bonus. If you're not ready for a coaching session at the moment, but you do want to get your homework done and educate yourself, check out a course. And I actually give a discount on coaching sessions for the people who have taken the courses, because if you're well educated, it is super easy for me to work with you. Finally, I have lots of free resources on the website, including the show. Make sure you subscribe to it. And if you like it, on iTunes, leave a quick review. Tell me what you like about the show. I really appreciate it. It helps other people also discover the show. And as I said, this is free information. And also check out the blog. I have some really in-depth posts that you will find interesting. I'm your host, Sean Lehman, MBA and Certified Divorce Financial Analyst. Thank you for listening.